It was exactly 1 p.m. on Sunday, January 25th, 2026. Families in the small Sante Croci neighborhood in Niscemi, Sicily, were preparing for Sunday lunch when they heard something that will be forever etched in their memory. A rumble. No, like, you know that deep boom that comes from beneath the earth? That's exactly what it was. And when residents looked out their windows, they saw cracks appearing in the asphalt like someone was slowly tearing a sheet of paper. But here's the detail that genuinely concerned me when I started researching this story. Some residents went down to the street and felt the ground literally trembling beneath their feet. It wasn't an earthquake. It was the earth sliding toward the Beneficio stream. And look, when I spent the last few hours analyzing official data from the IRPI, Italy's Research Institute for Hydrogeological Protection, the numbers are frightening. 500 people had to abandon their homes in a matter of minutes. 500. To give you an idea, imagine evacuating an entire middle-class neighborhood in less time than it takes you to watch a movie. The mayor of Niscemi, Massimiliano Conti, didn't use gentle words when he made a Facebook Live broadcast. He said verbatim that it's a dramatic landslide event. And when a mayor who lives there, who knows that land, uses the word dramatic, it's because the situation is truly serious. Residents who managed to record videos show something that looks like a disaster movie scene. The asphalt opening up, walls collapsing, and that continuous sound of earth moving that gives anyone chills. But let me tell you what makes this even more concerning. This isn't the first landslide to hit Niscemi. Actually, it's not even the second just this month. Exactly 9 days ago, on January 16th, 2026, another massive landslide hit the same region. And when I say massive, I'm not exaggerating. That one had a front of 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers, man. 1.6 kilometers. To help you visualize better, think of 20 soccer fields lined up one after another. Now imagine that entire extension of land simply sliding downhill. According to initial surveys by Sicily's Regional Civil Protection, the landslide movement covered a total area of approximately 0.4 square miles. 1 square kilometer? 1 square kilometer. That's like... Wait, let me think of a better comparison. It's the equivalent of 140 soccer fields. In that first landslide, the scarps, which are like the steps that form when the earth cracks and shifts, reached heights of 20 to 23 feet, 6 to 7 meters. That's basically a complete 2-story building's worth of difference in ground level. Provincial Road 12 was completely destroyed, with the pavement literally split in half, displaced from its original level. And it wasn't just the road either. The methane networks supplying houses were ruptured. The fiber optic cable bringing internet to the entire region was damaged. 35 people had to be preventively evacuated from that Belvedere Canale area. And the movement? It continued active for days. Technicians placed monitoring equipment and saw that the soil continued slowly displacing toward the Meroglio River Valley. And here enters the great villain of this entire story, the invisible protagonist that set the stage for this disaster, Cyclone Harry. Between January 18th and 21st, just 1 week before this second devastating landslide, Harry swept Sicily's coast with a violence the region hadn't seen in 6 decades. There were 22.4 inches, 570 millimeters, of rain in just 72 hours in some areas of neighboring Calabria. 570 millimeters, people. Let me put this in perspective for you. The average annual precipitation in some parts of Sicily is 15.7 to 23.6 inches, 400 to 600 millimeters. In other words, in 3 days fell practically all the rain that should fall in an entire year. It's as if you took 12 months of rain and compressed it into a single weekend. The regional director of Calabria's Civil Protection, Domenico Costarella, classified the cyclone as a once-in-a-century event, and it's not an exaggeration by an authority trying to get attention. The meteorological data confirms waves of 52 feet, 16 meters high, were recorded by a buoy between Sicily and Malta. 16 meters! This is officially the largest wave ever recorded in the history of the Mediterranean Sea. To give you an idea, 16 meters is higher than a 5-story building. So think with me for a second. All the water that fell on the coast also fell in Sicily's interior. It fell on Niscemi. It completely saturated the soil. And what happens when you pour 1.6 feet, half a meter, of water in a matter of days onto terrain that's already naturally unstable because of its geological composition? It becomes a ticking time bomb ready to explode. Now, let's talk about what's happening right now in Niscemi. The situation on the ground is critical, not to say desperate. The city is practically isolated from the rest of Sicily. Let me explain the gravity of this. Provincial Road 10, which connected the Ponte Olivo neighborhood to downtown Niscemi, was completely closed because of today's landslide. Provincial 12 was already blocked since the 16th because of the first landslide. This leaves only a single road open to enter and exit the city. Provincial 11. Think about the absurd logistics of this. A city of 25,000 inhabitants, 25,000 people with only one functional access route to the state road connecting Gela and Catania. Any additional problem on this last road, and Niscemi is literally isolated from the rest of the island. The Pio La Torre Sports Palace, which would normally be used for basketball games and sporting events, was transformed into a gigantic emergency shelter. The Regional Civil Protection mobilized an impressive scheme. Hundreds of camp beds were transported from Palermo, 70 volunteers were sent to the site to assist families, and the department head, Salvo Cozzina, is personally in Niscemi coordinating operations in direct contact with Regional President Renato Schifani. Schools are closed until further notice. It's not a closure for a day or two, it's indefinite until the situation stabilizes. And there's a detail that caught my attention in the testimonies. Nobody knows when they'll be able to return home. But why is Niscemi specifically so vulnerable to this type of disaster? Let me explain the geological context that makes this area one of the most dangerous in Sicily for landslides. The Niscemi region is situated on what geologists call clay sand units. Translating, it's a mixture of clay with sand that forms extremely unstable sedimentary layers. Clay, when dry, holds up pretty well, but when it absorbs water, it completely loses its ability to maintain cohesion. It becomes practically a paste, a dense mud that can no longer hold the weight of the upper layers. And Niscemi has another aggravating factor. The area is already historically known for Calanchi phenomena, which are like deep ravines formed by constant erosion. This means the terrain has been wearing away for decades, centuries actually. And you know what makes this even worse? The zone is situated on a slope that descends toward the Moroglio River Valley. Gravity literally pulls everything down, so you have unstable soil, saturated with water, on a steep slope, already eroded by decades of rain. It's the perfect recipe for a disaster. And look, this isn't news to those who live there. The older residents immediately remembered that exactly 29 years ago, in 1997, the same area suffered a similar landslide. The community's collective memory recorded that event as a trauma. And now, almost 3 decades later, history repeats itself with even more intensity. So what comes next? What are the next steps? And how are authorities dealing with this ongoing crisis? First, continuous monitoring. Technicians from the Regional Civil Protection Department and IRPI installed measuring equipment to verify if the soil movement continues active. Because here's the problem. It's not like an earthquake that happens and it's over. Landslides can continue moving for days, weeks, even months in some cases. So they need to know if the earth is still sliding before releasing any area. The Minister of Civil Protection and Sea Policies, Nello Musumeci, has already guaranteed full support from the national government. Technical teams were dispatched from Rome to support local personnel, and there's a crucial investigation happening now. Specialists are trying to determine if there's a direct correlation between the January 16th landslide and today's. Is the same movement expanding, or are they two separate events?